sent another citywide communication the following week saying it's still being reviewed, finalized, vetted, but again, the November 19th date was given. So here we are. This is at least it might even be more than 2 years since the Small Business Grant Awards concept was first introduced, and obviously in the feedback from the community leading up to that, there was an expectation and hope that there would be small business supports that would come from the American Rescue Plan Act funds. So it would be postponed to our next scheduled meeting per the administration's request. Any discussion on the postponement? Councilwoman Rutherford first.
I have a question for the administration, which I'll go through it through you. I just want to know about the technical support part. The reason why I'm asking is because I'm extremely confused because we were told that the contracts was ready to be signed. And how are we awarding anybody anything when they haven't received any technical support? And so I just want to know, truthfully, honestly, without the bells and whistles, have the contracts for all the technical support people who you guys chose been signed, and how we giving them money when they never received the technical support they're supposed to have received? I'm very confused.
Do you want to yield to Manager Younger?
Yes, she'll tell me the truth. Manager Younger.
Council, Mayor, Deputy. All of the technical assistance contracts have not been executed. There are 20 to be executed. 12 of those have been executed. That's your first answer. In terms of the grant funding and other opportunities for the businesses, most of the small businesses did not necessarily request financial assistance or completing applications. We did, however, for those businesses that requested help completing the small business grant application, Candace on my team and myself did meet with many of the small businesses to help them understand and be able to complete the small business application. But a lot of the technical assistance requests were not for the grant application. They were, in fact, for things such as website development, architect and design, legal, and other matters. So there were some who asked for financial assistance help.
I'll just state for the record for the community, depending on those different contracts, council voted on them many months ago. So for them not to be executed yet is yet another example of council taking our action, presuming that that's handled and resolved and we can move forward to the work being done. Sounds like there's a disconnect there. We will ask for, sort of a breakdown of where that stands. A statement?
Yeah, just a statement. I'm saddened that you are taking the brunt of this when I know for a fact you have went above and beyond asking for contracts to be done since January, asking for assistance to be given to you since April, creating a job that they still have not posted and or gave them the positions to. And so I don't want you to be the fall guy. And I'm saying it publicly, I am sorry, because I know what you've been going through, and you can't say stuff because you still work here, but I can. It is appalling. It is offensive to a woman who has been doing economic development for over 35 years to be subject to the subpar treatment you have had to endure, because you have been the only caveat in this administration that has always been transparent. So I want to apologize, because I know they're going to try to throw you under the bus when they sent that email that you ain't know nothing about, when they sent that thing out to the public that nobody knew about, but communications constantly can send what they want and never talk to you. So if no one's going to apologize for you, Miss Younger, I'm apologizing, because they setting you up to be the fall guy. And I'm going to say it. That's it.
Next is Councilwoman Jones.
I want to say thank you first to the administration for pushing this back, solely because this money should be awarded to businesses that are eligible and that have the need in the city. And the draft list that I was presented with did not reflect that very criteria. Moving forward, though, I'm concerned about the internal score sheet that was used for deciding which businesses are awarded this grant, and perhaps other score sheets for other programs as well. Much of the information that was used for that score sheet was not communicated to the community. So people applied thinking that they had a good chance because they lived in Pontiac and have a Pontiac-based business. However, this internal score sheet told a different story. The draft list that was created was not fully verified, that, you know, there was more like a recommendation for approval with the contingency that these individuals met the eligibility requirements. So my concern here becomes, why does the internal score sheet not include the residency component as one of the scoring factors? Why was that not considered prior to the recommendation of that list? Because when that list got out, it stirred the pot. I know it was not intended for that list to get out. Perhaps the list should not have been made because the proper protocol had not been taken. And once you write something down, you reinforce how important that component is in your communication with others. So maybe this is more of a statement. In the future, this score sheet, this internal score sheet, needs to be publicized to some degree. Some of the elements on it need to be communicated. And when we create these draft sheets for approval, we really should be doing a better job at vetting those individuals that we are recommending for approval, not based on, you know, other elements that are not part of the main requirement, that you must live in Pontiac and your business must be based in Pontiac. That was one of the first things that was expressed. So I would think that would be included on the internal score sheet as part of the recommendation. That's just my concern there. However, when we see this again on December 3rd, I hope that those problems will be resolved and we can move forward with better insight and, you know, better preparedness for the next grant program.
Okay. Councilman Goodman, anything?
I'm not going to waste my time saying anything. No.
Okay. Pro Tem Carrington?
Yes, thank you, President McGinnis. Just one quick question. From now until December the 3rd, what measures is your department are going to put in a process to make sure that these particular business owners meet the requirements of this particular grant?
They are being vetted right now. That requires proof of residency, also proof of ownership. Some of that was in question. As indicated, that was a draft list that was being vetted that should not have got out, but it did. And noting Councilwoman Jones, if you put it on paper, then there's that. But I have to start somewhere. So, they have to be vetted by purchasing, taxation, as well as other departments. So I had to have something on paper. So right now, residency, good standing, income tax, and ownership are being vetted.
Okay. And I got a follow-up question?
Sure.
And what was your determination of some of the rewards? For example, some people had brick and mortars and they received $10,000. Some people had just a food cart and received $50,000.
Okay.
So what was some of
Based on the
variations
based on the
of
scores.
awards? Based on the scores?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
Councilman James, anything on the motion before us with small business grant awards?
No, I just think that, it's unfortunate that we've had so many problems with it. It's just very unfortunate. And hopefully, as a council, I've never seen the score sheet. I've never seen the scoring criteria. I've never seen a written copy of what the requirements are. So, we're just here. Wondering and expecting that this is getting done, that there is somebody who knows what the score sheet looks like and what the criteria, because we have not been provided with any of that information. And I asked in the last meeting when this came up to have the council, be given a copy of the score sheet, the scoring, the scoring criteria, and also in writing what residency requirements are there. You mentioned residency, but we heard some conversation about some people having joint, more than one person listed as owner, and 51% of the business is owned by this. You need to see something in writing. How do you judge things like that? How can we make decisions about these businesses when we really don't even have the basic information of what was used to make these decisions? So again, prior to the December 3rd meeting, as a councilwoman, I need to see what your scoring criteria, what your app looks like, what your scoring criteria, and what are the written requirements for residency.
Would the administration be able to provide that? It doesn't have to wait until the packets.
I'll be able to provide that tomorrow.
All right. Thank you very much, Councilman James, for reiterating that request. Thank you to the administration in advance for fulfilling that. Councilman Parker, any on the motion? Councilman Goodman.
Well, actually, to ask the question, is the criteria in the application not the one that was up on the city's website?
Yes.
So I want to call back to comments that I made last week, which is the issue that is really at hand when you look at the application and the scoring criteria is that they do not go together. The fact that, again, 55 points of the 100 points that are on the rubric are for a budget that is never asked for. And again, when you look at it, there are multiple points where it just simply does not line up. When you have a rubric and you have an application, they are supposed to line up together. If you have 100 out of 100 points, if more than half of it is for things that you have not been expressly asked for, that's not fair. That's just not how a grant is supposed to be run. And I say that as someone who has just finished wrapping up grant reports for my day job because I allocate hundreds of thousands of dollars in grants. So I am more concerned with the administration, how they handle this, because it's kind of obvious to see between the application and the scoring rubric that was sent out that these things they do not line up and they have not been, what I believe, handled correctly.
Thank you. Mayor Gramlin, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you. I want to try to answer some of the questions that were raised. Number one, I just want to be clear that the email that went out a week and a half ago was not sent out unilaterally by the Communications Department. It was worked on specifically between the Communications Department and Manager Younger. In fact, Manager Younger drafted the initial draft email to be sent out by the Communications Department. So that was a collaborative approach between Manager Younger and the Communications Department. I just want to be clear about that. Secondly, in terms of the question around why the requirement around residency wasn't in the scoring criteria, it's because it's a threshold requirement. Either a business is owned by a resident or it's not. And if a business is not owned by a resident, it doesn't qualify for the grants, period. So it doesn't factor into the scoring. It's a basic threshold requirement to determine whether or not a business is eligible. I want to make sure that we're addressing the broader
Order in the chambers.
I want to make sure, though, that we're
order in the chambers.
I want to make sure that we're addressing the broader question here, though, which is about how the scoring rubric was developed. So I want to give you an opportunity, Manager Younger, to describe how you developed the scoring rubric, why you developed the scoring rubric, and how it corresponds with the questions on the application.
Sure. The scoring rubric rewarded points for budget, detailed budget, and it was asked to supply a detailed budget as a list of attachments. So the criteria, when I send it out, I will line up how the criteria line up with the application. But I think it was all applications can be subject to questioning or whatever, but we tried to make it line up the best that we could with the criteria that we were looking for. So I'll detail that when I provide the information tomorrow.
Councilman Rutherford.
All right, Ms. Younger, because I like when people try to gaslight, and I don't want to fall for it. The original draft, did you finalize the email that was sent out?
Yeah, I worked on it with communications, yes.
And so my follow-up is this. In knowing that...
Are you asking about both November 1st and November 8th?
Yeah, November the 1st. Did you...
Okay.
Yes, I worked on both of them.
Okay. And so how many times did you meet with that board before y'all decided?
3.
Okay. And was the administration a part, and I want you to listen to my question, was the administration a part of the decision-making in choosing the people that were getting the awards?
No. What I did is took the top scores from all reviewers. So reviewers, I took the scores, logged them. Reviewer A had X number that were 90 points. Reviewer B had I made a spreadsheet. I took all the scores from the 5 separate reviewers and created a spreadsheet based on how they ranked them.
And so the administration never discussed that with you?
They did not discuss the ranking. I did show the recommendations to the administration,
You
yes.
did show the recommendations?
Sure.
Okay. Just want some clarity. Thank you.
Any final discussion on the motion to postpone to the next city council meeting? Hearing no discussion, roll call. Clerk Doyle on the motion to postpone.
Parker?
Yes.
Rutherford?
Yes.
Carrington?
Yes.
Goodman?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
McGinnis?
Yes.
7 yeas, no nays.
That motion carries. The resolution is postponed and will be back before us. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution authorizing the clerk to schedule a public hearing on December 10th?
Support.
It's been moved by Councilwoman Rutherford, seconded by Pro Tem Carrington. This is scheduling a public hearing on December 10th. The City Council, at that City Council meeting, General Motors is applying for a PA 198 Industrial Facilities Tax Exempt Certificate for a new casting facility located at East Montcalm and Joslin Avenue. We shared that